Ben Lake.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm very pleased to speak in this debate on the finance bill. I think I've now spoken in most of the finance bill debates since I was first elected to represent the people of Ceredigion in 2017, and subsequently since last year now also the good people of Preseli, North Pembrokeshire. And in advance of all finance bill debates, Madam Speaker, I make the effort of consulting widely with my communities, and in particular with the small businesses that form such an important part of the economy of my constituency. And in all the years that I've served as a Member of Parliament, never has the sense of fear, the lack of confidence and the uncertainty been so palpable when I've met with businesses in my constituency. And if I reflect very briefly on the structure of the economy of constituency, it's perhaps no surprise that they should be so worried about the measures in this budget. There are some 5,500 businesses registered in Ceredigion Preseli as of March of this year. They may well be slightly lower by next March, but 81% of them are classified as small businesses with fewer than 50 employees. Now that makes Ceredigion Preseli the small business capital of Wales. It also is a very rural constituency, a coastal constituency, and so the industries of agriculture and hospitality are very much key pillars of our economy. Indeed, 35% of all businesses are classified as being in the agricultural, forestry or fishing sector. And so much has been said already in this debate about the changes to agricultural property relief and business property relief, and the concerns that these changes have caused for small businesses and small family farms across the United Kingdom. We've heard others mention very eloquently, and I pay particular reference to the Right Honourable Member for Shetland and Orkney on this matter. He mentioned that already we have seen these proposals change the way in which our small businesses and particularly farm businesses operate. Some 55% of small businesses and 49% of farm businesses have already cancelled proposed investment projects in anticipation of these changes. And the Family Business UK organisation estimate that in my constituency, these changes alone will lead to the loss of some 250 jobs and deliver a £30 million hit to my county's GVA. There is a real danger with these changes that the government will deliver incredibly and long-lasting harm to small businesses across the country, and especially in rural areas. And it is particularly disappointing that the government has refused to pause at least these changes so that they can properly understand the impact that they will have on rural areas. Because the many figures and statistics have been bandied about in the many debates that we've had for the past months about the real impact of these changes, but the government itself has not undertaken the full impact assessment, as follows most other policy decisions that the government takes. And as a member of the Welsh Affairs Select Committee, I was very pleased that we made that recommendation, that they should at the very least postpone these changes until they understand the impact of it. Because unfortunately, Madam Speaker,
I'm intervening on the Honourable Gentleman because we both represent rural constituencies, here in Wales and me in Lincolnshire, and our constituencies are very different in their rural aspect. But both of us are affected equally badly by this family farm tax. Now, many of my farms may be larger than his, but their income is still quite marginal. And I think what so many of us representing rural areas can't understand is why hasn't the government been prepared to compromise and listen to the NFU and, if necessary, take more resources from the bigger states, but preserve our family farms?
I'm very grateful to the Right Honourable Member for his intervention, and I very much agree with him that it is a point of real bemusement, confusion indeed, for many of my constituents. The government has not looked to seek for compromise and to engage with the alternative proposals that have been presented by both the NFU and in Wales also the Farmers Union of Wales. Because there is some consensus to be found there, if only the government were to budge and to be willing to compromise ever so slightly so that they can achieve the objectives that they so eloquently point out that is the intention of the objective of their policy, without sacrificing hundreds, if not thousands, of family farms and businesses across rural Britain, and particularly in my constituency of Ceredigion Preseli. I suppose it probably underlines a growing sense that I've had, Madam Deputy Speaker, that although my constituency is only some 170 odd miles from Westminster and Whitehall, where many of these decisions are dreamt up and subsequently implemented upon us, we may as well be living on the moon, such as the disconnect between the policies that are sometimes made here and the impact they have on the ground, and the lack of effort to try and understand why so many businesses and people in my communities are so fearful for the impact that these proposals will have on their lives. The one point I will add, just in closing, Madam Deputy Speaker, is that some 15% of all jobs in my constituency are in hospitality. Now, it is a missed opportunity for the government in this budget to look again at the VAT for hospitality. I think it would have done a world of good and given much needed confidence to an industry and a sector that is suffering dreadfully at the moment, with a cumulative impact of different cost price increases as well as new taxes. So a VAT cut on hospitality would have been very much welcome.
And on that point,
I will.
Thank you, Honourable Member, for giving way. And on that point, not only the VAT, but also the proposed hike in alcohol duty is yet another blow to pubs and breweries in my constituency of South Cambridgeshire, including the Three Hills in Bartlow, which is reeling from a business rate increase of 123% as a result of the business rate valuation changes. So does he agree with me that the Chancellor is really failing to protect our pubs and breweries with these measures?
The Honourable Member for her intervention. I very much agree with her, and it comes very neatly onto my final point, Madam Speaker, in that the government has failed in its budget to acknowledge the many increasing and cumulative pressures on hospitality and pub businesses in particular. The Honourable Member referred there to significant increases to the rateable value of a pub in her constituency. I also have been contacted in recent days by hospitality businesses, a pub that has just been informed of a 131% increase to the rateable value. Now, they will await to understand what exactly that means for their business rates bill, but the fear is very much well-founded that they will find themselves having to pay a great deal more in the coming years than they previously did. And that's on top of the higher employment costs that have been generated by this government's decisions on employers' national insurance and also all the other inflationary costs in terms of energy and goods. The one thing I would end then, Madam Deputy Speaker, is that the Valuation Office Agency, if I understood things correctly, will come underneath the HMRC from next April. And I very much hope that the government and HMRC will avail themselves of the opportunity to ensure greater consistency and clarity, dare I say transparency, in the way that the VOA and these valuations are calculated. It is a very technical, complicated, murky way of addressing and calculating business rates. And there is such a discrepancy in Wales that I must finish my remarks by bringing it to the House's attention. The Town Council of Aberystwyth have done a lot of work in recent months of trying to find out why so many retail premises in the High Street have been vacated and are empty. Time after time, a business will say the business rates are just too high. So they then did some researching, Madam Deputy Speaker, and they found that for the Zone A rates levied upon retail properties in Aberystwyth Town Centre, on average, a business would expect to pay £525 per square metre. They then looked at other towns and cities in Wales and found that if you were a retail business on St Mary Street, Cardiff, you'd be paying £460 per square metre, and if you were a premises on the Kingsway in Swansea, you'd be paying £180 per square metre for Zone A rates. Now, you don't need to be an expert on Wales to understand that as wonderful as Aberystwyth is, it's not quite the same sort of hotspot as St Mary Street, Cardiff, or indeed Swansea for that matter. And so if the government and HMRC will be taking ownership and responsibility for the VOA from next April, I do very much hope that one of the first things they will do is look at some of these inconsistencies, because at the moment, as I say, some of these decisions are so disconnected from reality that we may as well be living on the moon.